So you're telling me there's a chance?
It was a beautiful day.
Hi there, Coach Sage Canaday of VO2 Max Productions here with a training talk analysis. We're going to talk about Kilian Jornet today. Kilian Jornet attempting a 24-hour track record. That's maximum distance to run in a 24-hour period on an outdoor 400-meter track. So flat, uniform surface. I love it. I love it because obviously Kilian Jornet, if you don't know him, greatest of all time, mountain ultra trail runner. Athlete of our generation. I've had the great honor of being in a lot of races with him, always finished behind him, sometimes very far behind him. He usually wins these mountain ultra trail races that he does, and I finished one place behind him in a couple races, most notably Pikes Peak Marathon last year, but also other races a long time ago like Transvolcania. We'll pull up some of those memories there. Seen him dominate, though, win all sorts of races. He's won UTMB multiple times. He's won Western States. He's won Zagama like 10 times. Sierra Zinal, I believe, is probably one of his greatest running performances ever. And that's just a 18, 19 mile 30K mountain race that's very runnable. It's not even technical. His specialty probably is really technical mountain, especially downhill's technical, but any sort of pure mountain race where there's a lot of vertical gain and climbing, technicality. He's a very good mountain athlete all around. He's a world champion skimo racer. He's done mountaineering exploits, FKTs on the big mountains, super high altitude stuff, Everest, to name a few. And so really phenomenal athlete, but branching into the any service, any distance motto and doing flat track and road stuff. So we just saw him last month about running a 10K road race, very famous 10K road race in Norway, running that sub 30-minute time, 29:59 in his first official 10K road race. And I think it was a pretty flat course in pretty good conditions. And that's interesting to see. That's interesting to see as a pure mountain athlete. And, it's something I really respect, getting out of your comfort zone, so to speak, right? He's considered a pure mountain athlete, and he's doing this flat stuff on a track. I haven't even done any ultras. I actually haven't done any flat, runnable, really fast ultras on a road or track. Like the fastest one I've done is probably Comrades, which is definitely not flat, and that's only about 55 miles, right? It intrigues me doing a 400-meter track type of record. I'd probably go for just 12 hours or 100 miles first rather than going after the 24-hour record. But it's an intriguing concept because you could hopefully change direction on the track, right? You're going to blow out your hip flexor. Some muscle is going to go after you're turning left for a number of hours. You're going to probably want to reverse direction. So hopefully you can do that. That's a standard practice in the U.S. track races that we've seen. It is a pretty niche part of ultra running to go for these because most of our ultras are trail races. But it's intriguing because also you could get aid station every 400 meters, right? So you don't really have to carry anything, right? You don't have to carry any gels or fluid bottles necessarily if you don't want to. You could be like, hey, next lap, get me my jacket out. It's getting a little cold. Or, hey, get the shoes ready. I'm going to swap shoes. Or hopefully change direction. So you could go fast. And he's going to have to go fast because he's going after one of the most legendary records in ultra running history. Yannis Kouros, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The famous ultra runner has the 24-hour distance record, and it is 303 and a half kilometers, or about 188.6 miles in 24 hours. That's the distance he covered. The average pace for that is 4:44 per kilometer pace, or about 7:38 per mile pace, right? That's for 24 hours solid, right? That includes any bathroom stops, any pit stops, food stops, shoe changes, you name it. You have to average faster than that, right, to actually average that pace. Because if you're counting, you know what I mean. That's the pace you have to average. That's a pretty fast pace. 7:38. It's ridiculous, actually, to hold for a full 24 hours and to cover that vast distance on such a flat, uniform surface. And it helps for the speed to run on a track, and it might depend on your muscles and your running economy, which is going to get into the nitty gritty of this talk. But for an athlete like Kilian, it's very different from some of the longer races he's done, like UTMB, for example, which, he could win in about 20 hours, but UTMB is a pretty mountainous race, right? It's not super technical, but it's 10,000 meters of climbing, 33,000 feet of climbing up and down, and Kilian's great in the mountains. So this is a different ball game. It's a different aspect of MUT running, mountain ultra trail running, because it's really emphasizing the ultra component, the long distance component, the steady running pace, right? If you have no hills and undulation or technical terrain, limiting factors, you're going to get really tired anyway, but you're tired because it's such a flat, uniform surface and you're holding such a steady type of pace, right? If you're trying to do it efficiently. So it comes down to that efficiency, I believe, and that running economy. Can Kilian do it? I don't know. But Kouros is legendary, and I think this is one of the most unbeatable records, untouchable records, we shall say, out there. It's really, really good in my book. I'd say, most course records, I'd be like, oh yeah, someone could beat that. This record is one of those ones where it's like, that's really, really freaking good. And again, I haven't run on the track for that long, so I don't know what it's like exactly, but 7:38 per mile pace, 4:44 per kilometer pace for 24 hours straight, that sounds fast. That sounds like it's going to hurt a lot. Pain is guaranteed. Fatigue is guaranteed on that. But the other untouchable record I'd say in ultra running is the Pikes Peak Marathon record. That's the other one that's like, that's not going down. Like, no one's touching that time or performance. But anyway, I digress. Running economy, running efficiency is the name of the game. And like we say in our Sage Running Secret, we do have an ebook. That's a plug for our business, sagerunning.com. In our ebook, we have a whole chapter on, are you a Mustang or Prius? Variable running economy is the term I like to use. It's the name of the game because it means that your efficiency changes depending on if you're running uphill or you're running flat. Your efficiency changes if it rains and it's muddy and you're slipping around and you don't have trail shoes on and you're in road shoes and you're slipping around on the mountain, right? You might be falling down. Bad efficiency. Your efficiency changes based on your inherent strengths and weaknesses as an athlete. Maybe that could be trained and improved a lot. Maybe not, right? I'm always more of a climber than a downhill runner. Kilian is probably one of the best downhill technical descenders ever. But he's really the GOAT because he's also a pretty good climber. So he's got the all-around mountain athlete package that people haven't been able to match. And I think with Kilian, and again, this is my analysis, you could argue below if you want, Kilian's real strengths in his long career have actually been at not super long ultras. They've been more in the 20-mile, 32-kilometer to 50-mile, 85-kilometer mountain race range. I think some of his best performances, like I said, Sierra Zinal, have actually happened on kind of runnable terrain. Sierra Zinal is actually a pretty fast race. It's not technical, but it is a legit mountain race and climbing. But a shorter duration race, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or I guess he ran 2:25 at Sierra Zinal, to obviously winning UTMB at 20 hours. But even in the 6 to 8 hour range, he's very, very good in the mountains. UTMB, he's not always won. He's been beaten there by quite a bit by guys like Francois Dane. And, other races, people have faltered over 100K. So I'd say his sweet spot, his really best performances are those races like Zagama and Sierra Zinal and the races that are generally under 100K, but in the mountains. Now we're extrapolating out to 24 hours on a flat track. I don't know if he's ever run an actual 5K on a track, or I don't think he had run a measured 10K until this race last month. So it's hard to say. We don't know. But in my experience of trying to do any surface, any distance, not very well, I shall say, because I've failed a lot, it is a very hard transition. It is a very hard transition to go from the mountains to the flat and to go from running road marathons, especially, that's more of my wheelhouse, road marathons on the road to running in the mountains. It's a tough transition. And I think it's actually a harder transition to go from the mountains back down to the flats. A lot of road marathon runners have a really good aerobic base. And if you're an endurance athlete, a cyclist, a mountain climber, a ski-mo athlete, you have the heart and lung power to be able to keep your fitness, keep your heart rate low and keep your breathing low at relatively easy paces. You tap into that fat burning metabolism, right? He's still going to have to take in a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of fluid, although he is pretty lightweight and efficient. But over 24 hours, and to be running that fast, it's going to require some glycogen stores and some ingested carbohydrates as well, I'd imagine. But the balance there is not getting stomach distress or getting GI distress or getting dehydrated. And then the other big limiting factor is going to be the skeletal muscular fatigue, right? Not getting a cramp, not cramping up because of all the repetitive turns, the repetitive motion of not having any undulation in the terrain, right? There's no uphills and then downhills. It's not refreshing like that. Kilian's used to the technical terrain, the roots and the rocks and the snow and ice and dancing down really fast, steep stuff, even climbing. Like he's a really good scrambler in technical mountains, right? He knows how to use an ice axe or two. It's totally different. It's a totally different ballgame. So is the muscular efficiency going to be there? And he has been training a lot on his treadmill, it appears. He's done some long training runs on the track. I believe he did it was almost like 50 miles, 80K on the track, but that was before his 10K. He's done some fast track workouts, but he also had complained about a possible injury slightly after that 10K, which wasn't that long ago. And it's just, I don't know all his training. I haven't followed it that closely. Maybe some people have some more insight. Shoe choice is going to be important, gear choice, but then nutrition choice as well. So it's an interesting thing. And I think with the running economy, like I said, it's a variable running economy because it's about now flat, uniform paced running, or he's going to go out probably slightly faster than these paces because you're going to anticipate a slight slowdown. You don't want to bank on a negative split, right? He's not going to go out a little slow and say, oh, well, I'll speed up at mile 100 or 120. I'll speed up at kilometer 200, right? You don't necessarily bank on that. You're banking more on the idea that you're probably going to start slowing down slightly, or you're going to start having some more time at the aid stations where you have to make a wardrobe change or go to the bathroom or something like that. So that's the strategy I think he's employing. So he's going to actually have to go out faster than that. That being said, you don't want to start too fast, obviously, because it's a really tough record and it'll catch up with you. You don't want to bank a ton of time necessarily because that could really come back and bite you. And these events are hard. It's going to be hard, even for an amazing athlete like Kilian. And a lot of respect out there for him in doing this, taking out of his comfort zone. On the track, you can't hide. There's no bushes. There's no mountains. Everyone sees you at all times, unless there's trees in the middle of the track. And you're exposed. The track doesn't lie. The 400-meter splits don't lie. It's brutal. It's brutal. Again, I haven't even done an ultra on a track. It's intriguing to me, though. I do want to do one eventually, one of these days. I don't really like the left turn. But anyway, I digress. Running efficiency, running economy. The question is, he's probably built up his leg muscles to be more efficient at scrambling up and down mountains, right? So that kind of leads to the idea that maybe he's less efficient relative to running on a flat track or road. That being said, sub 30-minute 10K, that's fast. That's pretty fast. That's a good, solid performance for a mountain athlete, right? So he's starting to make that transition. And like I said, some of these things can be trained. You could become a better hill runner by practicing running hill repeats and doing uphill tempo runs and doing stuff on a treadmill incline trainer or going out on the trails, right? You could learn to be a better technical downhill runner. It's some muscular control, neuromuscular control, but also risk taking and building that ability. But at the bottom line is your efficiency going to hurt you in the long run, right? What kind of pace can you hold for a marathon or 24 hours on a track? And how soon till you bonk? How soon till you have muscular fatigue? It's hard to say. It's hard to predict. That's a really long time to be out there on a track. I can't imagine, mentally, I would have to listen to music. I'd be playing mind games with myself personally. But it's intriguing. It is intriguing. And I think, Kouros put down a really phenomenal record. I think he also has the 48-hour record. And it's really, really good. It's those legendary records. So super exciting to see Kilian give it a shot. Comment below with more training insight or what you think is going down next couple of days, supposedly. It's going to happen. They had to delay it because of the weather, I think. But should be going down very soon here. So comment below. Again, today is, what is today? November 22nd, 2020. So hopefully the record or the attempt is going down in the next couple of days. Again, thank you so much for all your support on here. Title sponsor, Hoka One One, keeping the dream alive, as well as all you on Patreon that support this channel. Really makes a big difference. And getting training plans from our coaching website that Coach Sandy and I have up at sagerunning.com. Thank you again. Stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.